Oh. Hmm. Physics! Welcome, everybody, to our second podcast. I'm Mr. Mac. Today, we're going to be doing a bit of a algebra review, going back over some stuff you should have learned in 9th and 10th grade. Variables. What are they? Well, in physics, they are physical measurements that we use. These are representations of these physical measurements. These might be measurements like speed, distance, time. And in our formulas, we represent these. We don't write the entire words out. We use small abbreviations for them. We use symbols. So we might use S for speed, D for distance, and T for time. Sometimes you'll see some variables that look like this. The V in this case stands for velocity, which we talk about later in the class. The I and the F, they mean something else. They are called subscripts, but that means that they are part of the main variable. And in this case, what I and F stands for is initial and final. Initial just means your beginning or your starting value, and F is your final or your ending value. Let's talk about order of operations, because in physics and algebra, when we do mathematical operations, we have to do them in a specific order in order to make sure that we get the correct answer, or that everybody agrees to get the same answer the same way. So we use PEMDAS, and from algebra, you remember that PEMDAS stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So how do we make or solve for these new measurements that we're going to be developing over the year? And how do we do that? Well, we do that with a simple mathematical property of algebra, which is if I want to move something from one side to the other side, I have to do the opposite operation. So if I have 5 being added to one side and I want to move that 5 to the other side, I have to do subtraction to remove it. Here is a formula that you will be dealing with later in the semester. We don't even care what these letters stand for at the moment. We don't care what the symbols are. We're simply going to practice rearranging the equation to solve for a specific part. In this case, we're going to solve for m. Now, in this equation, what you should notice is that we've got these two items that are inside parentheses. We want to move them away from our m so m can be all by itself. So what's happening between everything in parentheses and the m? What mathematical operation? There's no symbol in there, so you should remember from algebra that when we don't have the symbol, that means it's being multiplied. So in order to move VF minus VI to the other side of the equation away from m, we have to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So what that will look like here will be this. Notice whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other side. I don't just have VF, VI being divided here. I have it being divided on the other side as well. Now, there's an interesting situation between these two items, which are exactly the same. One's in the numerator, one's in the denominator. And from algebra and basic math, we learned that we can cancel those out. So those two items cancel out. We have successfully now moved this item over to here. And when we simplify this out, the two items here disappear, and we are simply left with mass equals J over VF minus VI. So in this case, we were trying to solve for m. We have successfully got m all by itself on one side of the equation, separated from everything else. Now we have a proper formula to solve for m. Okay, that's the easy one. Now the next two are a little bit more involved because, again, we have these parentheses, but we'll walk you through this. Now in this case, same exact formula, but now we want to solve this problem for VF. Now, the way we're going to start off with this is we want to move m, and we want to move VI away from our solution. So in order to do that, the first thing I'm going to move is m. We'll talk more about why this is. It's because everything inside the parentheses, well, we got to keep together until we can get rid of everything else. So the first thing we're going to do is move m. Again, it's being multiplied by everything in parentheses. So we're going to divide both sides by m, like this. And just as before, we have numerator and denominator, the same value, so those two cancel out. And we now are left over, if we simplify this, with J over M equals final velocity minus initial velocity, VF minus VI. Now, because they're all together and nothing else is involved, we can get rid of those parentheses. So now we're going to solve for, again, VF. So we want to move this VI, but there is a negative sign in front of it. There's this subtraction. So this is what's happening to the VI, subtraction. What's the opposite of subtraction? Addition. So we add VI to both sides. Now what we'll see here is that negative VI plus VI equals 0. It cancels out. So we'll cancel those two out. When we simplify, we are now left over with this equation. So VF equals J over M plus VI. Again, haven't plugged any numbers in. We're just rearranging this formula so that we can show you how to do this in the future. This is a basic type of algebra that we'll be doing throughout the entire year. I hope this helps. If you need a little bit of review, just rewind the video and go step by step through it. If you have any questions, ask your physics teacher. Hope this helps. See you on the next podcast.